Welcome to the channel, Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, Theologist, Gosford, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. What happens after the relationships ended? The covert emotional incest people have defaulted back to what they're comfortable with before you come along. You've gone back to what you were doing before they come into your life, and everything's relaxed. I'll tell you what happens in this subject called covert emotional incest and the aftermath. The relationship went along and started off what seemed to be something solid. It didn't take long at all for things to start to go skew-if based on the other people's attitudes and performances. There were some teething problems which are to be expected, but these problems that you run into are a little bit deeper, in fact much deeper and hostile than what you were aware of or should have been putting up with. And then, as a consequence to this, given the ages of you being adults, your assessments of the situation happen pretty quick. You talk about things, you do decide that you want to stay together. That's mutual, co-mutual on both parts. But then the relationship triangulates, and we've got a interferer, a family member, someone that's jealous or envious, or whatever the story might be. There's 1,000 combinations and ways in which they can stick their noses in. But it's based on a delusional psychological attack on you. You're being emotionally vandalized, misrepresented and totally misunderstood and misconceived, and it's a beautiful act on the part of the family member. It's a good attempt, but you're not buying into it. You walk away. It's worse than, I tell you, some of this stuff is worse than high school girl behavior that you'll get out of these mummy's boys and daddy's girls, and it's desperate. Really, really desperate, and it can become really, really hostile. For me, the best thing to do is walk away, because there's no point you engaging in people's trouble that they're having with themselves and projecting that onto you. Whether the parent wants to stick up for the situation or get things in order or not, it's completely up to them, but you've got to stay focused. And you can only hope that at some point they'll pull things into line. But 9 times out of 10, that probably won't happen. And they'll let things start to fester in the spirit. Things will start to fester in the spirit, because unresolved immediately causes trauma. The trauma and the shock of whatever the problem is, because you wouldn't have seen it coming. The trauma and the shock of the dysfunction that you're now witnessing that was covert. The trauma and the shock of the collusion that's gone on between the mother and the children, because now you've got flying monkeys ringing you up. Smurfs, flying monkeys, minions, and gremlins ringing you up, abusing you, usually. They've got no idea what's just happened. They've made up stories. They've bought into this delusion, and you're sitting on the end of the phone, you're going, oh God. So there's no privacy at that point either. And at this point, usually we shouldn't let our faithfulness and loyalty blind us any further than that, but we do. We battle on. It's at that point you should say to yourself, this isn't my cup of tea. Obviously, there's a lot of work that hasn't been done in these people. They're working as a tribe. It's gone beyond triangulation to tribal assault against your person. I mean, all you've tried to do is go down and visit your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever the combination is, and the next thing you're in the middle of this hillbilly style deliverance type situation, yet you're still prepared to try and work things out. You can't work things out under a delusion. Delusions can't be worked out only in the person's head that's making them up. There's no point trying to come up with answers and solutions to things that just have none, because the things that are going on inside that person's head were going on long before you come along. Now you can ask to sit with the partner and these family members. They won't do it because you've already stood back and sort of got your hands up in the air in surrender position, saying, no, I'm not going to buy into this. But they've got to convince their campaign, their smear campaign, is like a politician during an election. They've got to get the smear campaign over the line, and they'll do this at the expense of the relationship if they can, because that's what they're trying to do, is dissolve the relationship to get back their supply from the family member that's giving you emotional supply. You'll find that the family member that you're with will go into a paralyzed state where there is no resolve. You'll start to try and tolerate the situation, but that won't stop trauma. The other two people will already have trauma. That's just how this works. And it'll be their trauma that is fueling the fire. You won't be able to bring it around, because the person, the covert narcissist who's now gone overt in the attack, they've come out in the open in the attack, is now hidden away. They don't want anything to do with you. They've got their reason to get rid of you, and they're just wanting everyone else to get on board. And then when they realise that they've hit a wall and they're not getting their usual following, particularly from the person that you're with, they're just stuck in limbo, which isn't attractive at all. It's very unattractive, I tell you. You've got this person stuck in limbo like a zombie. It would have taken 5 minutes to fix the problem, but because they've given the authority of the house over to the adult child, they're in a stalemate there. And you're watching this as a damn grown-up adult, and you're going, are these people... what on earth is going on here? If you don't know what covert emotional incest is. Because these guys will be your judge, jury, prosecutor, and the whole lot. They don't even know who you are. They don't know how you live. In the last instance, I was building a triple fucking high-rise building, and I've got these grubs that like sit around and smoke dope and shit, trying to discredit who I was. And as I've mentioned before, my two boys were going, what's the fucking matter with these people, mate? And I've gone, I don't know. I just think that they're just happy to try and wreck things for people, particularly for the mother. Now these people say they love their mother and the mother loves them and all this and that, and they're just going about wrecking each other's lives. And they make up stories, and they whinge and carry on. What you got to realise is there's a lot of people who collude with their children that you won't be aware of behind your back. And you'll see this at the end of the relationship when they just disappear. And this is what I mean by the aftermath. They just go back to how they were before you will come along, and their tension and the unresolved dissolves, not via solution, but via the fact that there doesn't need to be a resolve because they lost the relationship. So they relax back into their way of living. And it's like you were never there. Well, you were never there because you get separated. I mean, they're really twisted behaviour for people that think they're trying to have a relationship. Honestly, it is just absolutely disgusting and woeful. That's what covert emotional incest does. But if you're not aware of it all, then you wouldn't have started your detachment. So you've got to start to detach as soon as you see this behaviour to see what way it's going to go. You can't go any deeper because it's coming undone right in front of your eyes. And as you realise that you need to detach, then that makes the transition away from these people a lot easier. Now, what they do after you're gone, who gives a shit? It's completely up to them. They're obviously destructive. But what you got to do is stay on point. Now, I don't go off point if I'm in a relationship or not. I stay on point, stay on hobbies, stay on exercise, stay on presenting myself to the girlfriend, stay on work. It's not consequential to me, only in the sense I've wasted time and disappointment. And to wonder, why don't these people get embarrassed? Oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing. I tell you, it is so embarrassing. And therefore, you move on and just go, well, what a waste. But a waste for who? I'll tell you for who. If they're relaxing back to how they were before you come along, it's going to be miserable for them, but they'll be happy in their misery because misery loves company. And for you, you just stay strong, stay fit, walk away, move away, do whatever you have to, delete the pictures. You'll find it would have been one of these relationships where you had pictures of them, but they never had pictures of you, blah, blah, blah. The usual pathetic people type story thing. And you delete your pictures, you you go no contact, you don't contact them, there's no need to, you got to let people move on. And then you get on with your life. Go through the healing process the relationship, see where it went belly up, and then, and then, after you've healed, don't go on the dating sites. For goodness sake, do not go on the dating sites. Do not go on the dating sites. Unless you want to be a predator, or unless you are a predator, or you don't really care, or something of that nature, or whatever. And just enjoy life. where you were before you met that person. If you don't hear from them again, that's their business. They're not if these people are hostile that you've run into, the hillbilly deliverance hostile types, narcissistic types, don't worry if they don't contact you again. They didn't know what to do with your lifestyle. They did not know what to do with who you are and what you do. And they'll just end up the way that they are, with their victim mentality and their drugs and their alcohol and their whinging and their whining, and the world hates them and they're unlucky and unfortunate and all the rest of it. And that's their lot. Get your Bible out, get closer to God, stay in prayer, keep going to the gym, keep doing your exercise, keep making money, and be grateful. If people want to be hostile in this life, let them suck it up, because guess what's up ahead for them? Hostility. Hostility will always bring back hostility. Drugs always attracts drug addicts. Alcohol attracts alcoholics. Sexual deviance attracts sexual deviance. Put all that together and you've got an early grave. Come back to God, be strong, be tough. This is Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. They relax back to what they were before you come along. But the good news is, so do you. And hopefully that was better than what it was with the hostility that come from these people. This is Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Bye for now.